Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very jolly episode of Hindsight is Horrifying. Today we begin our Christmas movie month extravaganza marathon thing.
Yeah, whatever you really want to call it.
Yeah, we don't have a clever name for it, but
we haven't put any thought into this.
No, we put no thought into it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. We make our guests pick the movies, so
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any more work for this damn show than I already have to do.
Yeah, we just show up. We are, of course, today going to begin our holiday season with perhaps one of the most beloved Christmas movies of my generation. I'm talking about A Christmas Story.
Heck yes, and listeners, we have a special guest for you today who did in fact pick the movie, as we pointed out a moment ago. You know her, you love her. She has returned for the fourth time to regale you with her knowledge of A Christmas Story. It's Meg!
Yay!
Hello.
How's it going, everybody?
Welcome back.
And thank you very much for picking the
most iconic Christmas movie.
The most iconic. Yeah, this is a movie. It is the ultimate American Christmas movie that's actually Canadian.
Well, I'd say it's probably about on par with Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, definitely.
As far as nostalgia's sake, especially, like for sure. But
yeah, there are two movies that get watched every year in my household, and one is A Christmas Story. The other one is, of course, Christmas Vacation.
Absolutely.
Which is just a fantastic movie.
And we may have another beloved guest coming back to discuss Christmas Vacation, so stay tuned, listeners.
Yes.
We got a lot of good holiday deliciousness coming up your way, so get excited.
There is a lot to talk about in this movie. This is a movie directed by Bob Clark, who
directed Porky's.
Well, he directed... if Porky's had to occur in order for this movie to exist.
Yes, that's in my research.
Yeah, because if he had quite a bit of success. He directed mainly kind of crappy horror movies before this.
Right, it's because Porky's was such a success that he was given a shot to, do Christmas Story. Yep.
Yeah, he directed in fact the mom in this
Melinda Bolden.
She, who I'm a huge fan of. She's one of those actresses that never really
Melinda Dillon.
Who you may recognize from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
I do not, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I didn't make that connection.
Yes, that was probably about 4 years before this one. So.
Well, because that's what's strange about this movie is that when you see the first credits in the beginning of the movie, it says starring Darren McGavin and Melinda Dillon. And normally with a movie like this, where it's primarily about the kids, you see the kids listed for top billing. Like if Macaulay Culkin had been the lead of this movie, it would have said starring Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, no doubt.
But for those heathens out there who may not know A Christmas Story or be terribly familiar with it, to fill you in.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
They play it for 24 hours.
Well,
the whole month of December.
Yeah.
Well, this was upsetting for multiple reasons. Josh and I actually, we just got a new living room set, and he got one of the kids from his shop to come and help us out. He's about young Adam's age, so he's in his mid-20s. And I was about to make a reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I had to check myself. I was like, Lane, have you ever seen Ferris Bueller? And he was like, no.
That's disgusting.
I know.
That's literally
exactly.
disgusting.
There are people out there. Lane, we're talking about you. So for those idiots who aren't familiar with A Christmas Story, looking at you. Okay, it's based on the humorous writings of Gene Shepard. This beloved holiday movie follows the wintry exploits of youngster Ralphie Parker, Peter Billingsley, who spends most of his time dodging a bully, Zach Ward, and dreaming of his ideal Christmas gift, a Red Ryder ale rifle.
Zach Ward today, by the way, I have a photograph. He's still acting.
Wow, and he didn't turn out crazy looking.
Yeah,
the picture I Googled earlier, that was not what I had saw.
It
did not look very good.
Here, ladies, you can.
Maybe I'll put it in the show notes if I can find it.
There we go.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a looker. Good for him.
Yeah. By the way, we should probably go ahead and clear up one of the myths about this movie.
Which is what?
Which is about Ralphie.
Okay.
There's a myth that has gone around the internet for years that the kid who played Ralphie grew up to be a above average gay porn star.
See, that I feel like that's just a thing with child stars, like Paul on Wonder Years, how they thought that he grew up to be Marilyn Manson. It's like, no.
Right, yeah.
They're not, no.
Yeah, I don't know why people...
Above average?
Yeah,
What is an average gay porn star, Jason? Tell us.
He apparently has a repertoire that he can pull from.
Well, I mean, game recognized game. I mean, come on. You know?
Oh, goodness. And now A Christmas Story is ruined.
The point is, Peter Billingsley did not go that route. He actually is still acting. He's a successful actor.
From what I can tell, he's acting and he's spending a little time behind the camera. So maybe
Yeah.
he's just filming the gay porns. Who knows?
Oh, God.
Everything needs a director.
It's true.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
somebody
true.
somebody gotta lead the project. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's a surprisingly simple plot given what it is. But honestly, this movie, and Meg and I had some interesting conversations about this because listeners, hindsighters, you're well versed with our Alf to Seinfeld scale at this point. And Meg and I had completely differing opinions once we rewatched this movie because. And tell me if you guys feel the same way about it. It comes
You mentioned something about that. I remember you being wrong about a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyway, no, but seriously, this movie comes on every year and it's on in a marathon. So 24 hours a day. I don't remember what channel, but for what, like a straight week that they do it?
Yeah, it's like the 12 days of Christmas that they play it for 24 hours.
No, it's
24
it's just
hours?
a day. They
Oh,
just,
it's just
No,
one-
you do it
No.
more than one day.
No, but they do.
no, the 24-hour block is on
Oh, that
TBS
one.
for a
Okay,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but
Which
they
they
do
definitely
multiple
do play.
movies throughout the week.
Which was brilliant. You know where that came from?
Do tell.
Somebody said nobody watches anything on Christmas Day. You know, I mean, TBS. Who's watching anything on TBS on Christmas Day? So some genius said, "What if we just run a Christmas Story back to back for 24 hours? That will guarantee you that some households will just turn it on and just leave it on."
And that's
That's
what
fair.
makes it the iconic Christmas movie is
Yeah.
the fact that that's what's on Christmas Day.
it's the Shark Week of Christmas.
Yeah. Hashtag Shark Week of Christmas. But so to that end, it's been an incredibly long time since I've sat down and watched this movie from start to finish for exactly that reason, because it's on every year on Christmas Day and you kind of tune in sparingly to it. So it's one of those movies that I know the entire story, but I only ever watch it piecemeal. So to that end, it's been a very long time since I've just watched it in one go. And for whatever reason, like I always really empathized with Ralphie when I was a kid. He was always so stressed out about getting in trouble with his parents, and
Yeah.
he's so worried about what he might get for Christmas, and oh, what if I get the wrong thing? He's anxiety riddled.
Well, he is.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
I always felt for him, and Darren McGavin kind of, stressed me out because he seemed a little looming and the tough dad figure when I was a kid. But watching this as an adult, it's absolutely hysterical.
Oh yeah. It's something that I think you, as a kid, you can't appreciate it because you're still in the process of being a kid.
Right, and your world is so tiny.
Yeah.
I have the backwards reaction. I appreciated it more as a kid, and I'm going to say this, I did not like it as an adult.
So see, for you, it's going to wind up lower on the Alf to Seinfeld scale.
It
Whereas
will.
for me, it completely flipped. So that's funny that it worked out that way.
I think, first of all, as an adult, you watch it and you see it as a movie, and you can sort of take a step back and, is it just a good movie?
Right.
Regardless of the nostalgia and all that stuff. And I think as far as, if you look at the performances, particularly Melinda Dillon and Darren McGavin's great in everything he's ever
Yeah,
been
he's
in.
your hero.
I mean, they're spot
full
on.
check. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not like downplaying any of the acting or anything like that. It was just, I don't know, some of the characters themselves just made me mad and annoyed just to listen to them.
Are we talking the kids or the adults?
kids.
Okay. Yeah, because why though? Like, what's so? Because they seem like just roustabout kids that are getting in fights and pulling pranks on each other and stuff.
Ralphie I was okay with. It was the other kids that annoyed the
Flick
crap out of
and,
me. Yeah.
Flick and Schwartz.
And even Ralphie's younger brother annoyed me too.
One of them, by the way, I think
Randy.
I think it's Flick. Or no, maybe it's Randy.
Flick's the one that gets his tongue stuck to the pole.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember which one. One of them is actually, I think it was Randy.
The little brother?
Yeah, the little brother. I think it was him. He actually,
Randy.
he's associated with some project where the house in Ohio, that was the Parker house in this movie.
Well, it's a museum now.
It's a museum now, and he actually
Oh,
did at Christmas, he'll do a tour of the house, and so you can
pretty
actually
cool.
go with Ralphie. And he,
Talk about typecasting. My God.
well, no, he has a website. I think it's called redriderlamps.com. He makes the lamps from
The leg lamps.
Yeah, the leg
Wow.
lamps. And I read an article, and they're like $150 a pop. And he said that they've sold something like 3,000 of them so far.
Good Lord.
I feel like the number should be higher.
Well, I mean, $150 leg lamp. You got to,
I still feel like that number should be higher.
Now, I've seen the leg lamp in the form of a Christmas tree ornament, but I didn't know, like, that's crazy that they actually make the lamps.
Yeah,
but
they even make a, how Ralphie at the end of the movie, he's in the pink.
The bunny suit.
The bunny suit.
The bunny,
you can get a plush of, they call it the Pink Nightmare plush.
yeah, because that even Darren McGavin's like, he looks like a pink nightmare. God. He's like, do you want to stay in the bunny suit? No, go take it off. God.
See,
you just have to wear it when your aunt shows up.
See, and that's the thing. I think one of the reasons I like the movie is because Darren McGavin's whole sort of character arc, it both reminds me of my dad and reminds me of me as a dad, where it's like you're constantly, sort of ragging on your kid.
Right.
And you're pissed off at the world and everything else.
I can see that with you and David.
But then
That's
at Christmas
hilarious.
time, whenever mom's like, "Oh, put the pink bunny suit on," do you want to take it off? Yes, go take it off.
You're like his number one advocate. You're like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's like on Scrubs, Megan, I love that show where, remember Jordan keeps dressing their baby like a little sailor.
For funsies.
And Dr. Cox is like, your mother's a nut job when you don't have it on. I'm really sorry about the little gay sailor suit, buddy. Like, I guess that's just a universal dad thing. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean,
I would put my kid through that.
yeah,
But see, you're exceptional. So that's
I love the fact that Darren McGavin ad libs the cursing.
Yeah, he almost makes
yes.
up his own language
Yeah.
because it's borderline Charlie Brown because the kids obviously don't really know a ton of swear words yet at this early an age. They know some of them.
They know enough. Yeah.
Ralphie has to eat a significant amount of soap, but Darren McGavin is basically wah 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 like, and he's
but
just
he's actually
making up
saying
words.
words, though, yeah.
It's even better. That's what I mean.
Bastard rattle trapping. Damn dolly wop dump.
It's like all those cuss words that TV broadcasting makes up in place of the actual cuss words, like fudge.
Yeah.
Well, Linda, FCC, Linda's coming at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finky.
Those aren't curse words. But yeah. And poor Randy, his mom turns him into a
The
pillow.
human marshmallow man.
Yeah. He's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That's what it is.
See, what's great about this, though, is if you have any friends who grew up in the Midwest, they'll all have the same story. Every one of them has the exact same story of going to school and mom is bundling you up in 17 layers of ridiculous insulation so you can walk to school.
And not die.
And inevitably, as soon as it's all on, you have to pee.
Yeah. But okay, actually, speaking
I
of
can't
this
put
part,
my arms
this is
down.
one of the parts where
Randy.
Randy.
He was annoying the crap out of me because he is like, what, 6? Looks like he's 6
Yeah,
or 7
something like
here.
that, yeah.
And he's crying like a toddler. And it was like
And it's
nails
fake
on a
crying, too.
chalkboard to me.
Well,
Well, see, you have the perfect child who never cries. So I think you're a little
But
bit...
I'm just saying, like, a 6-year-old shouldn't be crying like a baby.
Well, it not especially when he doesn't really mean it. He's just doing it to like get his way. So I
Which
see why
also
it's
annoys me.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, Randy is like, "Mom, I can't put my arms down," and that was so like a back in the day thing where it's like, "You'll put them down when you get to school. It'll be
Yeah.
all right."
Well,
And-
and that's another part of the story that Midwesterners tell is that, the little kid has, 17 layers of insulation on, and then Ralphie just has a coat and a hat.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Because you basically turn 9 and you become expendable.
oh yeah,
Well, then you can dress yourself and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
because as John Mulaney says. No, but seriously,
Christ's sake.
this is kids growing up before kids were considered special.
Yeah.
Like even later when they take Ralphie and Randy to the department store, it blew my mind that they're in a crowded inner city store and the parents go, hold hands and don't get lost. And then they just walk
them
away from
walking
them.
to school right now. I was never allowed to walk to school at that age. Or ever, really.
Well, this is 1940 something.
But that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
this is
Yeah,
before, like
yeah.
I'm saying, before kids were special.
Yeah.
This is pre-milk carton.
Well, nothing was going to
ads and all
happen
that
to him.
stuff.
Yeah, nothing was going to happen to him.
Not back then.
You
no.
know.
I mean, who could
Most of
even
them getting
take on
beat up,
Randy?
apparently.
Yeah, well, being beaten up by a 12-year-old is really the mom's not terribly worried about it, I guess. And that was another thing because what's the bully's name? Fargus.
Fargus.
So
Farkas.
Farkas. Okay.
Farkas, yeah.
Well, Ralphie jumps on him and is just wailing on him and apparently cursing like a sailor on leave. And all his mom does is pull him off of the bully and then walk away.
Well, yeah.
She doesn't make sure that the other kid's okay. That would never happen today.
No, the police would be
Ever.
called.
I mean,
and it'd
you'd
be-
probably
yeah.
have to.
The kid would have to transfer
assume-
schools.
Yeah. There'd be a lawsuit. There'd be.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, it's a different world. It's for better or worse, you're not seeing something from, our world that we grew up in. And I think that's one of the reasons why the movie was so popular. It's like Bill Bryson's book, The Life and Times of the Thunderbolt Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just anecdotes about growing up in the 50s. And then this is the 40s, but, it's close enough.
Oh, yeah.
And there is, the movie does take place in this, sort of hazy, world that we don't remember, but we vicariously heard about through our grandparents and things like that.
Well, too, though, I think everybody in this room is at least old enough to remember before gadgets took over everybody's spare time.
No, you're right.
Because
you're
we were
right.
all pre-internet, pre-cell phone babies in this room.
That's true, yeah.
And that's what I have to explain to my cousin's children. Kaylee, actually.
That you were born before the internet?
Yeah. Meg's heard this story multiple times. I said how our other cousin who's my age, Justin, and I used to dance to Michael Jackson in his parents' living room and pretend we were shooting a music video. And so my cousins who are less than 20 years old now, Trevor looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, tell me that's on YouTube. I'm going to look that up." And I was like, "Actually, buddy, this was before YouTube."
Yeah.
Oh, now that I think about it, this was before the internet. And he was like, "Before the internet," and he just lost his little mind.
See, that's what astonishes me about, to go off on a tangent.
In my day.
Well, no, it's not
Tangents
really
on this show?
Yeah,
What?
it's not really an in my
never
day
happened.
thing. It's just whenever we were kids, and we've touched on this before. Whenever we were kids, we were exposed to the stuff that was new for us, but we also were exposed to movies from the generation before us and the one before
Right,
that.
yeah.
Like, we weren't so hyper focused on new.
Right.
I mean, like, I was a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars came out 2 years before I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean-
I think we discussed it specifically with Randy Bamfield when he was here for Animaniacs, because he likes to tease me about the first time we met, because Randy's he's a bit older than I am. And when I first met him, I was like, "Oh, remember this cartoon from when we were kids?" And he goes, No, Jade, I don't remember that. I was a little too old for that. And I was like, yeah, but see, the thing is, I have more in common with somebody 5 to 10 years older than I do than I'm ever going to have with somebody 5 years younger.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Because we remember a time like, you stared out the window when you were on a car trip, because if you didn't bring a book, that was it. You didn't really have video games or anything to keep you entertained.
Well, think about this though. When we were kids, when my brothers are much older than me, about 10 years older. When my brothers were kids, when my parents were kids, you had movies and you had TV shows, and that was the dominant media that was out there, movies and TV shows, to the point that for people in our generation, we just take that for granted.
Yeah, it's just
That's
always been there.
It's movies and TV shows.
In different formats,
media.
like we didn't have streaming or any of that fancy nonsense when we were little, but yeah, I'm with you.
Nowadays, whenever you have a generation of people who spend more time watching YouTube videos and don't even understand the idea, going to the movies...
Yeah, it's an outdated
or
concept.
even just watching cable TV, because there's so many streaming platforms. You don't have to worry about commercials anymore, or being in front of the TV at an exact time.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Like, if you wanted to watch your show that night and there was a storm and the cable got knocked out,
that was it.
Oh,
you
yeah.
missed
you
it.
didn't see it.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that before too. Meg, I know our big show when we got home from school, Boy Meets World, because it came on at 4.
Oh, yeah.
And if the bus was 15 minutes late that day, we missed half of it. It
was that in
so-
Pokemon, to be honest, but
No, but I know that was one of them for you. But hang on, guys, we got to get back to the movie really fast, because we just missed the epic, the iconic tongue on the flagpole scene.
Ah, yes.
Which I know we've talked about Mythbusters a couple of times on this show, Jason. They actually Mythbusted that to prove that yes, you can get your tongue.
Oh, yeah.
stuck
Oh, yeah, I've
to
done
it.
it.
Yeah, I've done it too.
Yeah, I think most of us learned that.
hasn't done it?
Yeah.
That's another generational thing, is that we just did stupid stuff like that out of pure curiosity. Like, I wonder what would happen if we did this. And a lot of times we wound up getting hurt or getting stitches because we did stupid shit.
How do you think Jackass came about?
Oh God.
Well, yeah, no, there is something to that. It's I saw a meme the other day that it had a picture of some millennial saying, "We're going to start a revolution," and then it had a picture of some guy from World War II saying, "You morons can't even start a lawnmower." And there's something to that.
Honda accurate.
There is definitely something to that, because
To be fair, you got to have some muscles to pull that cord.
That's true.
Well, that is true.
But
yeah.
they don't even understand the mechanics of it, I think, is the point of that story. But like, even going back to things where, like, what the teacher will say to Ralphie in the class, or what the dad will say for it. My grandma used to say this all the time because the dad looks at Randy. He's like, "What are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry about." Not even before he even knows what Randy's upset about, before he understands the situation, quit crying.
Yeah.
Like that was the rule of thumb for my grandma. Just, hey, you better stop crying or I'll give you a reason to.
Well, and you know, truth is, and I think most of the people who enjoy these movies will say, well, you know, it is broad stereotypes. Not everybody's family was one of the characters from, you know, A Christmas Story or, you know, something like that, you know. So, I mean, not every dad was like that. And I think what makes it interesting is that Darren McGavin does such a good job of playing the stereotype old man.
Big time,
Yeah.
But
because he doesn't even have a name. I think that's part of the power of his characters.
Yeah, he's the old man.
Yeah, he's not Dad. Yeah. He's not Dan. He's the old man.
Yeah. There's a theory that his name is Frank.
Based off of what?
There was one movie tie-in that was like it was a replica of the Telegram that said he had won the prize, the prestigious award, and it apparently on the Telegram it said Frank Parker.
Oh, okay.
And then there was something else somewhere that supposedly had the name Frank on it, but as far as canon is concerned, he doesn't have a name.
Yeah, I like it better without him having a name. I think
that's how it is when you're a
story.
kid. I didn't realize what my parents' names were until, you know, you had to start signing permission slip
Wait,
forms.
you're
and
not
like,
mom?
What is this name?
What is this?
Or like the first time as a kid when you hear people talking about your parents and they just use
Not
their
calling
first
them
name.
mom and dad,
and it's just like, oh, that's strange.
Oh yeah, Cece, who's been on our show. We haven't released her episode yet, but she did The Princess Bride. I was over at her house, and her little boy Xavier looked at me and goes,
No, we have released our episode.
"Oh, by now we would have.
Yes.
Darn it! Well, I'll cut this out in the timestamp. Let me start that. Let me start that story over.
It's okay.
Oh, whatever. To that end, my friend Cece has a little boy named Xavier, and she has been on the show, listeners. You know her, you love her. But I was asking her a question. I said, "Cece, what are we doing with blah, blah, blah?" And her little boy looks at her and goes, "Mommy, what's a Cece?" And she was like, "Oh, that's Mommy's nickname, pal." Like, because I think her mom calls her Ciara by her full name, and I'm one of the few people who actually calls her Cece. So her kid was just confused as hell. What's a Cece?
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, and that whole mood is what's so nice about watching a movie like this, particularly as you get older, because you do remember when you were a kid, the world was so vastly different. Mm-hmm. You know, Bill Bryson talks about the house he grew up in. One of the things he remembers is that it's the house he grew up in is a house that he knew better than any house he's ever lived in his entire life. He knew what the tops of the shelves looked like.
Right.
He knew what the bottoms, like underneath the couch, looked like. He says, "I don't know what those things look like in my house today. I don't climb up and look at the top of my shelves."
There's a Gooseberry underneath the fridge.
Yeah.
There's a penny underneath the couch. Those of you who got
Back
that,
before Family
we appreciate
Guy.
you. No, but I know what you're talking about, Jason, because it's like you grow up and you literally gain a slowly differentiating perspective as you get taller, because you're literally looking at the world from a certain level. Then you get a little bit bigger. And things just look different. Like, hell, in Oliver and Company, when this perspective is from the animals, one of the dogs is like, "Everything from the doorknobs down, that's mine." So it's funny how you're like, "Oh yeah, I guess that is how a dog would think." But as a kid, you're like, "Yeah, I know." You dig around in the couch cushions and you find what's in there. You may, it's just a whole different perspective.
Well, the world is so big when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. Everything is so huge. I mean, you know,
quite literally.
Because everything's built for adults. It's not built for children's comfort. It's built for adults.
I mean, it's a cliche to say it, but it's true. I mean, I remember whenever I went back to my grandmother's house, like 15 years, maybe more, after she had moved out of it and passed away. And I was overwhelmed by how small it was. It was just like walking into it and like, this can't be the same house. Like, I know it is, but it's so tiny. When I was a kid, it was colossal. It was just huge.
Actually, so the house I used to grow up in, our backyard, I thought was the most massive backyard thing ever. And my grandpa still lives next to that house. And anytime I go over there, I'm looking over at the yard and I'm like, could this yard always be so tiny? It used to take me forever to run down this.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and
And
even
hills were steeper on their bike.
Yep, and even like the neighbor's dog that seemed like it's Sandlot syndrome,
Yeah.
where it's this bear of a beast of a mythological animal. No, it's just your neighbor's dog.
Right,
Like
yeah.
you grow up and you're like,
The
oh,
beast.
that like what was his name? Hercules.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh shit, that was just another dog, but
Yeah.
okay. Because even from this movie, for that same perspective, because the neighbors have like what 17,000 hound dogs that
The Bumpus's dogs.
that keep terrorizing Darren McGavin. He shuts one of their little tails in the door.
So upset.
No, it's his ear.
I know.
It's his ear.
Oh, it's his ear. I
Yeah.
thought it was the end of his tail. Okay.
No, because they're all like basset hounds.
Yeah, they're all hound dogs of some way, shape, or form. Bloodhounds.
they
Yeah.
make a bigger appearance in the sequel, which
See, I've
There
not
was a
seen any of this.
sequel?
Yeah, there are a
there-
couple.
No, there's only one.
With the same cast and crew?
no.
I didn't think
No.
so. I was going to say there's no way.
Oh, you
Yeah.
mean okay with the same people?
Yeah,
Got it.
Charles Grodin played the old man. Mary Steenburgen, Burger?
Not sure.
I can't remember. She was married to Ted Danson.
Oh, I think it's
Steenburgen, yeah, whatever.
matter.
She played the mom, and I don't have a clue who played everybody else in the movie, but it was not good.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was a sequel 10 years later or 12 years later with a different cast that frankly wasn't up to it.
Well, it's
you
kind of
know.
like, Christmas Vacation. They kept swapping out Rusty. Like, the kids changed and, because, it's just, you've got to go with what actors are available. It's just Hollywood and how it works. But, Jason, going back to what you were saying about Peter Billingsley, yeah, he was not the porn star.
No.
But apparently somebody was. It was Scott Schwartz who played Flick, the kid who gets his tongue stuck to the frozen flag.
It all started with a tongue and it ends with a tongue.
Spent several years working in the adult film industry. In 2000, he turned his attention back to mainstream films, but his most recent role was apparently Disco City hot dog vendor in the 2017 movie Vape Wars.
Wow.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was just the wrong actor that you had in mind for that.
Yeah, that's astonishing.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Why would anyone want their kid to be an actor? I'm serious.
We've talked about this before.
Some of them turned out okay.
Yeah, but would you do something with your child where that was the logic? Some of them ended up all right.
I don't know. I'd have to be like, it would depend on the movie or the acting situation.
Yeah.
But
I
as
mean,
a kid, it's just such a surreal way to live your life. You don't go to school. You don't have any really regular sense of normalcy. You're on a movie set, which...
they teach them on the movie set.
I know they can have tutors and stuff, but still, it's so
I mean,
bizarre.
if there are other kids there, it's kind of like a class setting anyways, because they're all being tutored together.
That makes sense. But, yeah.
This part right here.
This
This
part?
is another part that grosses me out so much.
Randy, how do the piggies eat? Randy's sitting there and he doesn't want to eat his food, and the dad
I
is
just
more...
love Melinda Dillon in this scene, though.
Oh, she's great.
yeah.
But again, 6-year-old wearing a bib.
Darren McGavin's face. That's my dad.
See, that's me. No, that's me right now.
No,
not the kid.
Darren McGavin in this scene is my dad. What the hell is?
Well, you know who Melinda Dillon kind of looks like in this movie, is what's her face from Night Shift? Shelley
Long?
Shelley Long, yeah.
I
They've
could
got
see
kind
that.
of the blonde,
Yeah,
kinky
I-
hair.
I could see that.
Because that's been bothering me since last night when I watched it. I was like, who does she look like? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's the hair more so than anything else.
No, I could definitely see that.
But here it comes, you guys.
The most
Fragile.
iconic- No, seriously. I pronounce that word that way every single time just because of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And not on purpose. Well, yes,
Yeah.
on purpose,
Yeah.
Must
but
be
not because I
Italian.
think that's what it means.
God. And it's just this massive box, which, I guess it's just a whole shtick to build up your expectations, because it's
Well,
like
yeah.
it's like an Acme crate that Wile E. Coyote would order dynamite in, and they have to, hammer it open. And then
Imagine how cool it must have been though when things were shipped like that.
Yeah.
Like imagine getting something like that at
big
your front
giant
door.
crates.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
awesome would that have been?
When
like,
two grown men had to deliver one
I think they
lamp.
do it now for like wine to make it look,
yeah,
super
It's like, is it the Ark
cool.
of the Covenant?
Is it the
Close your
Holy
eyes.
Grail?
No, it's a bunch of sweaters.
Well, and there's almost a little running shtick with that in this movie where the dad is doing all these puzzles to win a prize, right?
Yeah.
And it could be up to $15,000, but then it's a plastic leg lamp
Yeah.
and it's raunchy. Same thing with Ralphie when he finally gets his little decoder from the Orphan Annie
yeah.
radio show.
I actually went and I looked that show up because I was curious to know if it was still Annie from like
Yeah,
the
it's
musical.
it's Little Orphan Annie.
Yeah, but I didn't realize that
Yeah.
it was a whole like kind of detective show
yeah.
on the radio.
Yeah, and there were a lot of Ovaltine tie-ins.
Yeah.
Remember to always drink your Ovaltine.
Well, the lamp was actually based on a real lamp. It wasn't a leg though. It was a you probably never heard of it. Knee High, the drink. Okay, yeah, it was a old drink. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like
What's that? I don't know that
it's like a
It's a 10 bar, but I've never made one of
fruit,
those.
a little bit of fruit, a lot of sugar.
Ugh.
Yeah, like grape Knee High.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah. No, it's starting to come together.
it was an illuminated Knee High logo. That's what it was.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was based on something real.
I do
Which-
love how Ralphie keeps feeling up this this leg of a lamp.
Well, think about it. Like, it's just, what exposure does he have? Once again, there's not really television the way there is today where he can see naked ladies anytime he wants to. That had to be a pretty
Oh yeah, that's pretty
salacious
racist.
lamp for the
Yeah.
40s. Yeah.
Yeah. I just Ralphie's expression is just priceless.
It really is.
And I love that it becomes his main form of entertainment besides the radio. Like,
Yeah.
just staring at the lamp is just mesmerizing to him.
You know, in the 40s and the 50s, it was not uncommon whenever because most of these people, these are working class people who, because of the post-war economic boom, suddenly there are things that they can afford to get that they're
Luxuries.
Yeah, they're luxuries. And I mean, if you bought a new refrigerator in 1945, or 43 or whenever this movie is.
The outlets setting
Yeah.
on fire.
If you bought a new
Surf
refrigerator, you invited everyone in the neighborhood to come over and look at your new
Oh,
refrigerator.
hell yes. My dad has a
It was
story
like a
about
whole
that.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
when my dad was living in rural South Carolina when he was a boy, they got the first TV in the quote unquote neighborhood. And back then, neighborhood could mean your neighbors are as close to 5 miles away from you. So everybody within the relatively immediate area came to check out their television because it was this brand new thing that not everybody could afford to have.
Yeah, Bill Bryson talks about whenever one of their neighbors got a color TV, they would stand outside of his window. The kids in the neighborhood would stand outside the window to watch whatever they couldn't hear it, but they would watch whatever he was watching on TV.
Yeah, my dad would even, he'd listen to the radio because they could get the reception of the radio at their house, but they didn't have a telephone. So to call into the radio station to like request a song or something, he would walk or run the mile to the closest payphone when he was a little boy to call in his request to the radio station.
Yeah.
It's just crazy
Wow.
shit like that. Yeah, I know that we think that we lived before technology, but our parents really did.
Yeah.
So it's nuts.
Well, the advances, there's one example I always use that really, in my opinion, sums up how quickly it all happened. My grandfather, when he was a little boy, he was with his father, and his father got a speeding ticket because he was trotting his horse over a bridge. and
Which you're not supposed
you
to
weren't
do.
supposed to. You're supposed to walk the horse over the bridge, and he was
Yep.
trotting it, and he got a speeding ticket. The day he died, I was at the Kennedy Space Center watching a shuttle launch.
God.
So, one lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
It's my wife's grandmother's still alive. When we landed on the moon, she was my age.
Oh, man.
You know, yeah. I mean, it's stuff like that. You just think, my God,
That's why we relate to older people, because even the technology booms that have happened just since we've been kids are so that they came at twice the pace as what happened when our parents were younger. Like once
Yeah.
we got the hang of technology, it developed more quickly and quickly and quickly. But with our parents, it was a huge deal to have, liquid paper.
Yeah.
Like it just things like that. It was innovative. But with
Well,
us, we're like, oh, now we have a computer that will literally tell me anything in the world. I keep it in my pocket and I use it to watch YouTube.
Yeah, and
Like that.
which was way better than my original computer when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Just my
yeah.
phone.
Oh, yeah. No, it's something that kids, and look, this isn't us as grumpy old people dumping on kids, because this is the
No.
generation they were born into. This is what they got. It's if we were born today, it's what we'd have.
Right.
It would be our perspective.
And I don't feel that way, but I was at a dinner the other night because I don't feel like I'm the quote unquote millennial child that everyone complains about.
Yeah, because you and I are millennials, but
yeah,
it's
technically
just,
speaking, but we're like on that very edge.
we're on the
almost.
cusp. Yeah.
It's rough. Like,
Yeah.
where does it fall?
But so I was out to dinner with my friend Lauren the other night, and we were checking on our phones because both of our husbands are watching the kids, and sometimes they got questions. And this gentleman next to me, who's probably in his 60s was, oh, you guys and your millennials and your phones. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm checking in on my child, butt out. Who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like Scott Adams. Somebody said to him, well, we don't communicate anymore because of all the devices. And he said, no, we actually communicate much more. We just do it differently.
Yeah, we do it in
Right.
different fashions with because you see memes about that all the time where it's like, I'm not a regular adult who will answer text messages with, text.
Yeah.
I answer with a funny GIF or a meme or something. Like it's just even how we talk to each other. It's just
Well, and
But
that's
that's how you get to show your facial expression without being
Right.
in the room with them.
Right.
Oh no, you and I GIF each other all the time. Like,
Yeah.
that's how we primarily text. But it's just different how people communicate. Like even my dad, going back to my dad, I remember when he learned how to make emojis on a phone, because when
Oh, yeah. I
texting
remember that day.
because when texting became like our primary source of contact for most everybody, my dad was like, nope, I will never send a text message. If you want to speak to me, you call me on the phone. And that was the rule for him.
Right,
But
yeah.
then years later, he finally buckled when he realized just how much easier it is to text, especially for work. And one day he was like, Jade, I figured out how to make faces on the phone. And he sent me like 4 random, like a coffin and a pumpkin and like a cup of coffee and a bagel. And I was like, Dad, what is, and he was like, hang on. He sent me a cowboy with like a cool face with sunglasses. He was like, cool cowboy. And I was like, you nailed it. Way to go, Dad. So
Yeah.
it's just,
Best text ever.
oh my
Yeah.
God. I think I screenshotted it and put it on Facebook because I was just so proud.
well. Oh no, go ahead.
I was just looking at the movie. That whole fantasy scene where the teacher's giving him an A plus.
Plus.
I still love that part
Yeah.
because as a kid, you would, picture these,
Oh yeah.
These
fancy
grand
scenes.
scenarios,
yeah,
yeah.
grand scenarios in your head, and then reality.
That's one of the many parts I love about this movie. Like in the beginning when Ralphie first says that he wants the Red Rider
BB gun.
Red Rider BB gun.
Which I have one. I
you?
have to this day. I had
Of
one.
course you do.
I had a BB gun.
He's got
as a
something
kid.
from every movie
Yeah.
we've watched.
No,
It's-
I had one. I had that BB gun before I even knew that this movie existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because after the movie came out, because Daisy didn't actually make that exact BB gun. The one
Okay.
that's in the movie is like, it's like a mashup of 2 different models because the author Gene, God, I'm drawing a blank. He misremembered the actual type of BB gun. So after the movie came out, Red Ryder or Daisy made the gun from the movie with the leather strap, with the compass,
Smart.
with that, and they sold like hotcakes. And so yeah, I had one whenever I was a kid.
Gene Shepard.
Gene Shepard,
But Ralphie says,
the narrator,
yeah,
who also narrates the sequel, and it's the
really?
it's the only good thing about the sequel.
and his narrations are just
He's
perfect.
He's fantastic. Well, he was on radio for years. He had a couple TV. He almost hosted the Tonight Show after Steve Allen left. They actually
really?
they actually flew him up to New York, and he interviewed for it. But the NBC was required to offer Jack Parr the job, but they just assumed that Parr would turn it down because he would want to be in a primetime
my God.
show, and Parr didn't. He took the Tonight Show, and there it was. But yeah, he almost hosted the Tonight Show. He did like live readings of his books and his
He's been
his
on
short
Family
stories.
Guy too. They had him as Meg's narrative voice at one point.
Oh,
where-
yeah.
'cause she-
I was just a 15-year-old girl.
yeah, because she has like a sex change or something later. But people, like, speaking of like coincidences where somebody else gets a role, Jack Nicholson was actually interested in being the old man.
That would have been good too.
I think it
no,
would
I
have been.
think this is perfect. Like absolutely nailed
Yeah,
it.
I think Darren McGavin's a better fit.
I would have watched that too.
Yeah, because he was
Oh, yeah,
reportedly
yeah.
offered the role of Old Man Parker.
They couldn't have afforded it though.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that's part of it. So they were interested in casting and paying him, but that would have meant doubling the budget of the film to have Jack Nicholson as Old Man Parker.
Well,
yeah.
what was he doing at the time that
85.
yeah. Is that Shining?
It was after Shining. It was like the 2 Jakes, maybe.
I'm not sure, honestly.
I don't know
I'd
what
have
he
to
was
look
doing
it
in
up.
1985, but he was still big enough to be way too
Yeah.
expensive. He wasn't. I mean, remember if what was the Tim Burton Batman was 89, and
Oh, he's the Joker.
yeah, and Jack Nicholson ended up being the most highly paid actor in a movie ever.
Right.
Because
Set a record, yep.
Yeah, because he took a decent percentage of the gross. And so I think he got like $40 million in 1989 off of that movie.
Yeah, that is the reason why they didn't go forward with him. Apparently, they didn't either the director didn't realize that Nicholson was interested, and plus it would have doubled the budget. So and they didn't want to pay his fee, so they opted out. But
the old Oldsmobile Model 6.
I was asking Josh, I was like, what kind of a car is that? Because I knew either you or he would know, but he's like, I'm not even sure, but it's just such an older car. He's like, that's a little before my time, before I became a mechanic and got interested in cars.
Yeah, this is back when changing a tire was actually like a skill.
Yeah.
You know, like you had a crappy jack. There was no place in the car that was like designated.
And the car weighed about...
Everyone back then knew how to change a tire, which,
Yeah, I suppose.
But the car also weighed approximately 10,000 pounds. Like, it's just something ridiculously heavy because they were actually made of metal back then.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no, the lug nuts.
This joke is so perfect. The slow
is.
motion, the everything about this. You know, and it's funny because as a kid...
Only I didn't say fudge.
Yeah, but think about this. I know whenever I was a kid, I asked my mom, what did he say?
Oh, no,
did you?
You know, and of course my mom did that thing that, you know, that skill that as, you know, when you become a parent, you learn to go, no, I didn't hear what he said, sweetie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just ignore it.
Oh.
They do that on Mrs. Maisel. She's like, you have to ignore certain questions from your kid. Like when my son looked at the strange man on the train who had a bulge in his pants, you just answer a different question for your kid.
Right. Yeah.
Mommy, why is that man looking like that? Oh, yes, sweetie. Howdy Doody is a real boy. Like you just redirect as hard as possible.
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention, son.
I don't know.
This did remind me, though, of when I was a kid and I had said my first cuss word in front of everybody. It was a complete accident because I think what I was trying to say was, oh, you little rascal, but it came out with, oh, you little bastard. So my first cuss word was bastard.
That's pretty... Yeah.
That was
not
mine
knowing
too.
it.
I don't think we've ever talked about
Really?
that.
My
Yeah.
kid says that today.
It's because I heard
just
it
doesn't
on, like,
bother me.
you know, probably one of my parents.
Well,
or something.
but do you remember the feeling, though, when you knew?
You were caught red-handed.
Yes, because
just
of this right
absolutely
here.
screwed.
Yeah.
I didn't have a bar of soap. I had hand soap in my mouth. Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
No.
gross.
I've had my mouth washed out with hand soap.
Hand soap.
Hand soap.
Nasty.
My grandma took some hand soap and washed my mouth out with it because I said a cuss word.
See, my grandma didn't even play around with the whole soap bit. We got switched, or we got a belt or a switch, depending on what was closer.
That was my dad, except he had the paddle.
Damn, you guys grew up in like messed up families.
No, I mean,
I'll go on record and say I never had soap in my mouth or was hit with a switch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that-
I
it's a
managed
Catholic
to
thing on my side.
In our case, it's just
Probably.
old school Southern stuff. But like my grandma, my brother is the one who got in more trouble when we were growing up. She would make him go out to our rose bush and pick a switch, and if it wasn't big enough, she sent him back out to get a bigger one.
That's just mean if it's a rose bush. That thing's got thorns on it.
I'm playing. She was not kidding around.
I remember my dad had a paddle, and we used to joke that he had one that
Was
had
it black?
holes.
Was it black?
No,
Did it have like
no, it wasn't. It was just like a plain wooden paddle. But
That's one of those things you wake up in the middle of the night when you're 25 and go, "Oh my god, Dad had a paddle."
we used to joke that he had one with holes drilled in it so that it was more aerodynamic to go through. But my brothers used to put on extra pairs of jeans so that you couldn't feel it. But if you did that, you got it worse.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like that. Like Dad picks up the paddle and there's like a pair of panties stuck to it. Oh, let me get rid of these.
No, stop it.
Hang on a second. Let me get rid of
He
those.
went into Mr. Brown direction with that. Sorry, it got super weird. Moving right along. No, but this is a little bitty thing that bothered me from the adult perspective is that my parents, I grew up getting spanked because that's how their parents raised them. That was the discipline throughout the
corporal
generations.
punishment.
But in this movie, the mom makes Ralphie hold the bar of soap in his mouth for like minutes, however long on end, and then she like licks it to try it herself, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh God, that's awful!" And it's like,
So you know
wait
it's
a minute.
a proper punishment.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't know until after she's already subjected her kid to it. Whereas my parents, they know, like, if they're spanking
Well, I think
you.
her-
See,
mom.
I thought this was because Ralphie was saying that, you know, if you got Irish Spring or whatever, it tastes good, but
Yeah.
this one sucked.
Yeah,
And she was probably
life boy.
yeah, because she bites the soap and then she just spits it out. It's, oh God, it's terrible.
I thought she was just testing this particular brand of soap. But
Maybe.
I think it's sort of showing the other side side of it, a little bit where she's empathizing with him.
I mean, good on her for trying it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the mom does have a few moments of empathy where, because the dad sells him down the river when he curses on the side of the road. He's like, do you know what your son just said? And he rats him out to the mom. But then when Ralphie gets in major trouble, when he beats up Farkas and he's just cursing.
She backs him
She cuts him a break. She sort of gives him a bit of a hard time because she sees him like crying up in his room all afternoon, and even his little brother's like, Daddy's gonna kill Ralphie. And the kid, there's just like a pall on the children of the house, and she can feel how distressed they are, and she cuts him a break. She's like, oh yeah, Ralphie got into a little bit of a fight earlier. You know how boys are. Don't worry about it. And then when the dad sees that his glasses are broken, because God, those were expensive back in the 40s.
Oh yeah.
She's like, oh no, you left them. Oh no, he broke it with the BB gun. Never mind.
Right,
She was just
That's
like,
when he shot
honey.
his eye out almost.
Yes, she was like, you left your glasses on top of the radio. Remember, don't do that. So she really cuts him some slack in that scenario. But she is the empathetic one, like where the dad is trying to make Randy eat.
Well, and that's one of the things that I enjoy about the movie is that the conflict is all. It's if they, I don't even know if they could make this movie today because we're all so damn cynical. I mean,
there's no way. It'd be a completely different perspective.
Ralphie's dad isn't an alcoholic who beats him. His mom isn't in a loveless marriage. I mean, it's
Wait,
just,
hold on. Is the dad an alcoholic?
No.
No, he's a turkeyholic.
I was like, I did not pick up on that because I didn't see him take a single drink in the movie. But okay,
he's that quintessential hard ass dad.
Yeah, he's Red Foreman.
Wants the pretty much.
I'm gonna kick my foot up your ass, kid. Like it's just his general approach to everything.
Yeah.
But yeah,
no emotion. That's the mother's job.
I guess so.
Well, and again, it's how they were raised. Yeah. I mean, that's where they came from.
Yeah, those typical roles of parents. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you got to remember too, and now I mean, it wouldn't really apply because this is during the 40s, early 40s, so the war's still going. But I mean, I know with my grandfather, when he got back from World War II, he was in the Army, he was a drill sergeant. When he came home and he's got these kids who, he hasn't seen in a few years and they've turned into...
He doesn't know how to communicate with them.
No, and he just does what he did in the Army.
Right.
He yells, no, you're not doing what I told you to do. You'll do it or else.
Right.
And the or else was pretty serious.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents, they soften up.
Some do.
Well, I know that.
Well, now you can get in trouble for beating your kid.
Well, that's true. I didn't get it as bad as my dad got it from his old man.
Oh,
and I'm
yeah,
pretty sure
like-
my old man didn't get it as bad as his dad got it from his old man.
Right,
Yeah.
because they remember that and they did,
Which I guess you can't continue very logically because then you would quickly get to murder.
yeah. Well, if it escalates, yeah.
And then
you're
my
screwed.
great grandfather, he was murdered by his father.
But I can understand. I do feel like society has gotten, quote unquote, soft.
Yeah.
On the, I guess that's where the whole negative connotation to millennials comes around because
because like the whole everybody gets a participation ribbon or whatever the case may be because we definitely didn't grow up with that. Like you had to place like first,
Yeah.
second, or third. You had to actually place somewhere in order to win something. So I can see where like the older generations are like, we didn't raise our kids to be soft like you got. And I think that's what it is. Even with people you're in my age who are, we're starting our families, we're doing whatever. Our parents are just like, they're more disapproving of how we're treating our children as opposed to how we personally behave.
Oh, my parents treat my child way
Oh,
better.
Yeah.
But they always know better.
That's
Do you know
how,
what I mean?
That's how my parents are. Oh, go easy on him. Don't get mad at him.
Yeah, right?
And you look at him and you go, okay.
Whoa, where was
hang
this
on
when I was a
second.
kid?
You remember, this particular instance?
And then I remember my grandmother, telling them, don't be so,
It's funny how grandbabies soften the grandparents. It's funny to me.
That's because you get to send it home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, parenting is a job. Grandparenting is,
A hobby.
it's a luxury. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
especially now
Parenting is hard ass work.
Well, especially now that people are living longer and longer. Sometimes, like, I never even met either of my grandfathers. They had both passed before I was ever born. They met their slew of grandchildren, but my brother and I were on the younger end. We never got to meet either of them. So, and I think it's like you said, it's almost like a gift. It's more than a hobby because they get that time to spend with the grandbabies, and they're young enough and healthy enough to, pick them up and play with them and stuff. So I think it's more of a treat because people are just living longer and they get to enjoy the time.
Well, the bottom line is you want your kid to grow up to be a healthy. Look, you
Healthy,
see,
productive member of society.
Yeah, you see the millennials. You see the stereotype millennials.
Right.
I mean, there's a great Instagram.
They're out there. I mean, it's a thing.
There's a great Instagram, hipsters of NY.
Oh my God.
And no, it's so awesome, but it's so depressing because
That those people exist.
yes, that these people exist and have a disproportionate amount of political control over our lives.
Oh God.
Well, it's kind of like the people you see on that. What's that show where people get to shop for like 3 different homes and then they pick one of the 3?
Oh, the
About a
House
million
Hunters
different
or-
shows.
Yeah, it's like House
something like,
Hunters
something
and,
like that. But I made a joke in our Evil Dead notes, something to that extent, where my husband binds books out of human flesh and sells them in his Etsy shop, and I make artisanal cheeses. Our budget is $4.8 million.
Right. Yeah.
they have a commercial about that on the HGTV channel where one guy sells and breeds plants, and the other one teaches llamas to sing or something, and or something like that. And their budget is $4 million.
Yeah, I've seen memes about it where it's like, I'm a butterfly doctor and my husband sharpens pencils for a living on Saturdays. Like it's just, they have all this money. So yeah, it's a depressing group of people.
Well, first of all, because if you live in New York, period, you can't live there without a lot of money.
Yeah, it's an expensive city.
It's
I don't know how
hugely
my
expensive.
friend Kate lives up there.
Yeah, it's
Or
tough.
I mean, I don't even like.
I mean, my wife's grandparents. I mean, they're because her whole family's from New York. None of them live there anymore, but they bought a brownstone in Carroll Gardens in like the 70s, and it was it wasn't a rundown neighborhood. It was a nice neighborhood, but it was basically like an immigrant Italian neighborhood. Right. And now Daniel Craig lives
down the way.
And it's ridiculous. Normal people can't live in New York anymore.
Nope.
And it's a shame because normal people are always what made New York so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the normal average
That melting pot.
Yeah. New York was such an awesome place because of New Yorkers, But, again, times change.
Well, and it's funny because, Meg and I were recently spending a weekend at a cabin for a friend's birthday, and we drove by a house that was comparable to the size of mine. And I've got a pretty fair-sized house, but I was like, you know what? I bet the person who lives all the way out here in Helen, Georgia, maybe paid like $80,000 for that house.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. No, you know what I mean, though? Like,
yeah.
as long as you're willing to live out in the middle of effing nowhere, you can afford to buy a house.
Although that cabin that we were staying at, that is about like 1,500 square feet.
Yeah, that thing, that was...
It was like $600,000 to buy it.
Good God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were a bunch of us there, and we all chipped in $100 just to stay for the weekend. So it's expensive just to rent.
We
too.
looked it up, and you could buy that house for like $600,000.
Well, go online and look at real estate in Los Angeles, and it's because
I have. Oof.
Yeah, it's astonishing because like in New York, it's this nice brownstone and it's overpriced. Okay, that's one thing. You go look in Los Angeles, and it's a really, really crappy house that you wouldn't want to put
Like
your
in the
kid
valley.
into. Yeah, and it's
Charged out the ass.
$1.1 million.
Good
You're like,
God.
okay, this can't be sustainable.
That's what my parents, I think another generational gap thing, my parents were like, stay around Alpharetta. I was like, I can afford a nice apartment in Alpharetta. I can afford a house with a yard and a garage where I currently live. So I'm going a little further out to get more bang for my buck.
That's where we're at. I mean, because we bought our place before Alpharetta boomed.
Yeah.
And so now
houses that are
we
like...
can't move to, in Alpharetta. If we want to stay in Alpharetta, we're staying right where we are.
Well, and you're right smack in the middle of everything, so that makes sense.
Think how cheap these houses must have been, though, in this movie.
Oh,
yeah.
You got to wonder.
Yeah.
But we've gotten to the tumultuous point where Ralphie's mom goes to quote unquote water her houseplants, but somehow
it's broken.
the lamp gets shattered into a zillion pieces.
Yeah.
I've done something kind of similar to that.
Oh, really?
Accidents happen with things that you don't like.
No, you can't.
sorry,
you can't
honey.
tease that. You can't tease it. You got to tell it.
Yeah. what's the story?
I've done it a few times. When I was dating my husband, I don't know why he did this, but he still had a picture of his ex-girlfriend in the wallet. Somehow it got torn up. I don't know how that happened.
Oh.
I certainly didn't do it.
It got possessed.
That's weird.
It was really weird.
That is
and then
weird.
he had a few shirts that had some holes in them that,
that's wrong.
they got lost in the move. Okay.
Oh, God
They
damn
disappeared.
Those movers, man, they are hairless.
Yeah.
They were probably high when they were moving your stuff. So
you're talking
you
to
never
somebody
know.
who's lost some awesome T-shirts herself. Yeah.
Elaine
Okay.
did that to you. You know it was her.
If
Come
a
on.
guinea pig has chewed holes in your shirt, it's time to let it go.
Agreed.
But there's
Gotta agree.
memories associated with that shirt.
You will always have
Memory.
those memories.
All right.
God.
Okay.
The shirt did not bring me joy.
I love how you wanted to hear the story and now you're upset with it.
Well, I'm just saying. Because
I'm going to recondo that crap.
because crime upsets me.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yes,
What are you
we're talking to an attorney, a former attorney. So yeah, crime upsets him. But speaking
Allegedly, these things happened.
of, there you go. But speaking of keeping things for nostalgia, apparently Peter Billingsley still owns the iconic bunny suit.
Really?
And
That's cool.
And the BB
Still tries
gun.
it on from time to time.
Well, that's what he did to guest star in that guy's porno when he was.
No, it wasn't him. It was
I know,
somebody
I'm
else.
joking, but he's the one with the bunny suit, so I had to cross it over.
I don't want Peter Billingsley to sue us.
No, okay, like he's listening.
So I wouldn't put my child in funny costume funny outfits. I would put her in the bunny costume just because.
Well,
That's for my own entertainment.
I think there's an age limit, you know.
It's just two, it'll work.
Yeah, 2 you can.
There's like a statute of limitations too. You just
Right. Yeah.
You know.
Well, and also too, especially when you're thinking in terms of one day you'll have a teenager, it is good to have blackmail material.
Absolutely, it is.
It's good.
I got
It's
it.
good to have those
If you
photographs.
think I didn't take pictures of her potty training, you are wrong.
Yeah.
There's another generational thing right there because our parents weren't throwing our pictures up on Facebook for everyone to see. Some of the photos that parents are taking of their kids and putting online are astonishing to me because
Well-
they're so accessible by so many
But
people.
not even that. So, but speaking of that, the whole generational gap, I still print out pictures and put them in a photo album, even though I have everything on the cloud. I have everything on a Facebook.
Oh yeah, you've got to
shared
have a hard
album.
copy or else you're going to lose your jinkies. You're
Yeah,
just like, no, what
it's
if
just-
the internet crashes
But
one
it's
day?
not even that. It's ingrained in my
nice.
brain to have photo
Yeah.
albums, even though they're obsolete kind of now.
Well, that's like, I don't think they're obsolete. That's like saying.
Well, they are because I have a Google Hub that displays all the photos for me now, and I mean,
I know, but I agree with you. I mean, it's nice to, like, my mom, in her later years, she's gotten into doing these Shutterfly books.
Oh yeah, my
yeah.
mom's super into those too.
Yeah, and every couple of months she'll have a new one, and she'll give all the kids one of the Shutterfly books, and it's really really nice because even though they're photographs that I took most of the pictures that she has and scanned them in years ago. But just having them in the book and flipping through them, it's sort of like, and I've said this for years, one thing that I miss is I miss watching TV, regular old plain non-streaming TV.
too.
Yeah.
Mainly because there were so many things, I think about this, so many TV shows that I really like nowadays that I never would have watched. It's just that there was nothing else on.
right, yeah.
In fact, Kolchak.
And now you can just record everything that you want to watch and watch it later.
Well,
Yeah.
even when I go back to old VHS tapes when, because I would tape Gilmore Girls or whatever because I had soccer practice or something when that show was on and I wanted to be able to watch it and not miss out. And Lorelai even has a speech about it in the show, so it's kind of a little bit meta because I used to love the
Did you set the
commercials.
timer to record it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to know how to work
I was
those
gonna
old
say,
school
did-
VCRs.
did
Yeah.
My
That was
success,
something I had to ask my dad to do for me.
Yeah,
my success rate on that was about 50%.
Yeah, that's
it was,
why-
Pretty good.
It was 50-50 if I came home. I was going to have an actual, and you knew, like when you came home and you saw the tape and you saw that it hadn't actually advanced any.
and it popped out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're
you
just
kn-
like,
and
wait
you
a
knew,
minute.
crap, it didn't record anything.
Yup.
But you still pressed
And your night
play.
was ruined.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
That's what you were looking forward to all week.
Oh, yeah.
Not all day, all week.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember loving the commercials, especially like the old Downy Soft commercials where they turned Snuggles
Oh, yeah,
into an
Snuggles the bear.
Aggle. Yeah, he wasn't just a little cartoon anymore.
Oh, yeah, he was-
There was
yeah.
one where he
I
was
remember
running
those.
through a field and got run over by an army tank for some reason.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just stuff like that. Then even Lorelai on that show that I'm talking about, Gilmore Girls, she's like, oh, and I don't want to get rid of my old tapes, Luke. They've got these old school commercials like Spuds McKenzie, Mikey likes it. Nothing comes between me and my Calvins. It's all
But
nostalgia.
that I will say is one of the best things about YouTube. And I will admit to spending literally hours
just watching old commercials. That reminds me,
Yeah.
I don't know if, I know you don't really, but Futurama, that one episode where he goes and he buys all that stuff from the 90s.
Yeah,
He's got all those old
when he gets rich.
videotapes. Yeah.
It's almost Kimmy Schmidt syndrome. Like she buys everything that was popular when she was a little girl before she went into the underground base.
The
or
bunker.
whatever. The bunker. Thank you.
Yeah.
White lady. God, that's why she buys the old Teddy Ruxpin, because those were still popular before she went into the bunker. But yeah, so it just, this movie, I don't know, it's prompted more nostalgia for me than almost any of the movies that we've watched thus far.
And I think that's one of the reasons why the movie, love it or hate it, and I think it's hard to hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but watching it around this time, I came at it as a parent where I sided with the parents on this one, and I'm going through this movie as a parent. And
well, I think that works because the parents don't do anything wrong, and the parents are doing they're doing the best they can.
I still think that they're perfect in this movie.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was like, yeah, this is the best movie. I know exactly what he's going through. I'm afraid of Santa Claus. I want this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Well, see, that one of the things that really, really hit me, and I haven't thought about this in years, is when I was in elementary school, my like first grade teacher would give us daily report cards where it was weather. So like you either got a sunshiny face because you did well that day, or you got a little rain cloud, or even a thunderstorm.
Which
that was the worst one.
Of South Park.
Oh God, I probably don't want to know about that.
Butters becomes a pimp, and he gives all of his hoes a sunshine cloud or a rainy cloud if they're doing bad. Again.
So you're telling me that I was rated on a hooker system when I was in elementary school? Cool,
bitch,
good to
you
know.
want to make some motherfucking money?
It's adaptable.
But the thing was, I really related to Ralphie's whole sense of anxiety because one day I got a little stormy cloud or something, and my dad had told me, all right, you've come home with this many stormy clouds this quarter. If there's one more, you're going to be in big trouble. He didn't even tell me what the big trouble was.
No.
Oh, you don't even have to.
No, that's
No.
the thing. What
The threat
horrible,
alone.
you sick bastard. What are you going to come up with?
Yeah, seriously. Because we tease him all the time because he didn't even really have to punish you bodily. He didn't really ever even have to get into spankings because he had the dad look. And when he got that look in his eyes,
mental game.
oh, you were just like, I'm gonna be murdered.
He'd
Oh
give
God.
He'd give you the Forrest Whitaker eye.
Yes. Except scarier somehow.
Well, no, I mean, because like in my household, it was the classic thing. It was you could get into arguments with mom, you could screw up around mom, you could get
push
in trouble
back a little bit.
But if you went from misdemeanor to felony, which is where dad was involved.
Yeah.
The
Because dads can't be bothered with misdemeanors. That's just not their. They don't care.
Because I mean, it was the whole thing. Your dad is going to be furious when he gets home. And you knew that dad was usually kind of furious when he got home anyway.
Well, and not even. This is why I relate to this movie so hard, though, because my dad is such a gentle soul that, like, even by the time he tells me if this happens, you're in trouble. I just built it up in my little head, like. Hiding under the sink, Ralphie's dad's gonna kill Ralphie.
Yeah.
And I was so terrified because I got a little stormy cloud and I went home that day and I had spent the entire day torturing myself, wondering what was gonna happen. And my dad took one look at me and he was like, I know you already feel bad about this. Don't let it happen again. And I was just like,
He's just playing mind games with you.
It's
that
like
was your
I had
punishment.
been pardoned from like a death sentence. It would be
I
immense
can
relief.
say as a dad, there's at least a 30% chance he just didn't feel like dealing with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
No, and I bet you he doesn't even remember that day. But to me, it was just this huge cloud of anxiety.
I remember though, whenever the tables sort of turn when you get into high school, because whenever I was in high school, they mailed home the report cards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, once you started getting real ones.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about little daily behavioral
my
things.
senior year, like the first semester of my senior year, I failed physics. Effed it. Flat out F. And every day I had this whole scheme to intercept the mail.
I think I opened it anyways.
I managed to get it. And I said, okay, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to see how long, because it was always like,
It takes for your parents to realize.
Yeah, because like the semester would end and then it took a little while for the report
And
card
they
to come
start
in.
asking you for it after a while.
No. And because my dad never even, was like, whatever, but my mom just that year kind of
Forgot about it?
and just never asked. And I was literally
Lucky
30 years
you.
old whenever I told my mom, by the way, Mom, I got something to confess to you.
Oh my God.
And she's like, what? And I was like, well, it's pretty bad. I did something that I'm not proud of. She's like, what? It's like, well, I failed physics my first semester of my senior year. And she got mad.
Oh my God. What?
In
your party? Oh,
She was legitimately upset. And then why did and she absolutely said, no, that's impossible because I got your report cards. And I said, no, you didn't get it that time.
You didn't get that one.
And she's like,
Not that
I
time.
don't believe it. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm making it up that I failed.
Yeah. What do I stand to gain from admitting this to you?
Right.
I love
right.
that she got mad still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's hysterical.
Such a mom thing.
Yes, totally.
Well, hell, I brought that up when we were doing, I think it was 10 Things, because my dad my parents weren't super into censoring what I watched when I was a kid, but for some reason, my dad didn't want me to watch 10 Things I Hate About You, because I would have been about 11 when it came out, but I watched it anyway at a friend's house, and I've never admitted to him that I did that, because, your friend's playing a video, you can either go home or stay and watch it and just not tell your parents that
Right,
you watched
yeah.
it, and I never told him, so if he ever listens to any of our episodes,
Well,
he knows now,
think
but
I have
see, the
anything
difference
like
is he
that.
won't care.
I don't think I did either.
He wouldn't
And
get
also,
upset.
I think, your parents aren't stupid.
Oh,
you know?
no. I think they were picking and choosing their battles there.
Exactly. Yeah, it's sort of like you.
So, I'm going to save up
Yeah.
for a real good fuck
Yeah.
up.
And it's
Yeah.
like, what kind of energy level do I have today? Is this really worth it?
I
Like,
still remember the first time I said that around my dad. I was like 17, and it was somebody that we were angry at. Like there was a whole soap opera thing going on, and I said the F word in reference to that person, but it was just me and my dad. And I just remember saying it and went, "Oh man, I just said that in front of my dad. I'm gonna die now."
yeah.
Because he doesn't use that word.
Oh,
He does
okay.
not use that word,
see, my parents
And
don't
he
really
just
curse
sort
much
of
either.
like looked at me and then just kept going like, we don't need to discuss what you just did.
It's the
But he's
dirty movie
cataloged
syndrome.
it in the
like,
back of his head.
Yeah.
It's building up.
Yeah, it's like, okay.
like an awkward moment in a movie, and you watch it with your dad, and you're just gonna look straight ahead, and we're never gonna
Oh
acknowledge
God,
that this
do you
ever
remember
happened.
that? Watching a movie and like something would happen.
Yeah, I mentioned it. My
Yeah.
dad and I, my mom had gone out of
the
town, and this
worst.
was when I was in my upper teens, so it wasn't that crazy a situation. But my dad was like, "Hey, Jade, this movie, Team America, sounds like it's going to be a hoot. Oh
my God.
Mom's out of town. You want to watch it with me?" And he doesn't know the
No,
South
yeah,
Park
no.
guys.
How
He's not
bad
into
it
that.
is.
No. And we watch it, and the puppets clacking together, and just
I do love that movie.
Well, no, I
and we just
remember.
stared at the screen, and we've never discussed it.
I remember. I think this might be the first time I realized I was not a kid anymore, and I was only in my 20s. We went to see South Park, the movie. Mm-hmm. And we get in there, and there's parents in there, and they have children with them, and we're sort of looking around, going, "Do they know what South Park is?"
Oh, it's a cartoon.
Oh,
It'll be
no.
fine. No.
And
It's like
It
all
wasn't
those Deadpool warnings. This is
Yeah.
not a children's
Same
movie.
thing with
Yeah.
the Joker. People are taking their kids to go see it, and they even put out a promotional poster, which I think I put it on our
I think you did,
Instagram,
yeah.
where it was like, "Hey guys, Batman's not in this one. There's nothing in the movie that the kids are even gonna like.
Right,
Don't bring
yeah.
them to this
Rated
one."
R for a reason.
Seriously. Oh, but here we are. That I got a fun fact about this weird kid. So they take the boys to the shopping mall to go visit Santa,
which is now a casino.
Is it
Is it
really?
really?
It's a casino now.
Oh, wow.
What do you know? But yeah, so there's that great moment where the parents are literally just like, "Yeah, hold hands and don't get lost." Okay, Mom and Dad, cool. I hope nobody abducts us. But
This
like,
scene terrified me as a kid.
well, yeah, because you're getting thrown down this massive slide. That's why all the kids start to cry when they're on Santa's lap.
Oh,
You know what? So, funny story about this scene. When they push them off the slide, when I was a kid, for some reason, that fluff that they all fall into, as a kid, I thought that was mashed potatoes. And I was convinced until I rewatched it.
No, that's actually most
mashed
ice cream
potatoes.
actually
okay.
in
All right.
advertisements.
No, I think it was asbestos.
It's that
That Pink
insulation.
Panther insulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the weird department store kid that's standing next to Ralphie, the one with the big like.
Which is actually what killed Darren McGavin. So I probably, no, it did.
Really?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he and Steve McQueen both had mesothelioma. And
shit.
when they
No,
were
I knew that about Steve McQueen. I didn't know about Darren McGavin.
when they were in the service, one of their things was stripping insulation off the insides of the ships.
Oh, no.
God.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, he had
On
a
that
long
bummer of
life.
a note.
You know.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, he was in the X-Files, for God's sakes.
Yeah, that's true. Steve McQueen died a lot.
Yeah, he
younger.
died a lot younger.
Yeah. But the weird department store kid that's wearing like the flying goggles.
Yeah.
The aviator ones, yeah.
He wasn't even an actor. Apparently, Bob Clark just like saw him because Peter Billingsley is like, yeah, Bob Clark, who directed it, saw the kid and thought he would just be a good addition to the scene. Quote unquote, he was weird and we used him just as he was.
Yes.
So apparently he really is that like little mouth breathing, like.
God, now I want to know. I want to find that kid now.
See how he turned out. But yeah, Ralphie gets up there and you feel
Terrified.
You feel for him though because he doesn't start crying or freaking out like the other kids, but he goes completely blank and he wants this little BB
He's having
gun
a
so
panic attack.
badly.
And he legitimately thinks this is the procedure to go through.
Yep.
To get to Santa.
This is how you circumvent mom and dad.
Yeah, if Santa's on my side, it doesn't matter what mom and dad say.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, this is back when Santa Claus could be drunk and handle children because his nose is just like blistered red.
You know, I actually know somebody who has
he's got the crazy
four
eyes.
kids, and in their household, they never did Santa Claus.
Really?
Wow.
Why?
Yeah. She just didn't want it. She
Yeah,
said,
I could see that.
That's fair because a few times my parents made me go sit on Santa's lap, and it terrified me every single time.
Here, go sit on the lap of a strange man.
Yes. Oh my God. And yeah, I mean, I feel for any kid. I wouldn't push them on Santa's lap.
And when I was a kid, I was particularly
no.
frightened of
I'm talking about they didn't do Santa Claus, period. Like,
they didn't introduce the
idea
concept?
of Santa Claus.
Okay.
Whoa.
No,
It just doesn't even
no.
exist. It's just mommy and dad.
Yeah, I
It's
thought
mom
you
and
just
dad.
Okay, that's fair.
Wow.
Yeah, which I
Okay.
always said, didn't that make it kind of awkward around other kids when they
Where
were
it
really
felt like
young?
Santa
Oh
was
yeah, the
visiting
little
them
kids have
and
to
not
like
wanna-
lie
not-
or not just like
Yeah.
not say anything.
It's like,
around
oh,
them.
when your kids talk about Santa Claus, just lie to them.
Wow.
You know?
Well, that's not a very good precedent
No.
to set.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
yeah, there
that-
goes Ralphie into the asbestos.
It's,
The mashed
it's
potatoes.
mashed potatoes. I swear to God, I thought that until I was 30.
Oh, and the,
The,
knockoff
the-
Wizard of Oz characters that
well,
are running around the department store.
The Scarecrow in that scene. Interesting piece of trivia. The Scarecrow, he worked there in that department store, right?
Huh.
And
and it's meant to look like kind of a Gimbals sort of
yeah,
scenario.
well, it was a real department store.
Yeah.
But he worked there. He passed away, and supposedly he haunted the department store. People who worked there said that they would see his ghost standing on the loading dock. Or
I sincerely hope that's true.
Yes.
Or they would hear him like talking over the PA.
Especially if he was still in the Scarecrow costume when they see him. That'd
Well,
make it
my
even
question
better.
is he haunting the casino now?
I wonder.
God, I hope so.
I
That'd
know,
be
right?
amazing.
That'd be a big plus up as a ghost. You know, it's like, you know,
Yes.
oh, awesome. It's a casino now? Oh, this is going to be
Bring
so much
on
better.
the sin.
Yeah.
We'll see, like, even Robert Downey Jr.'s talked about that. He's like, when I die, he's like, I don't know about the whole heaven and hell thing. I think I want to stick around and haunt people. You know, like how you're always afraid to let your foot slide out of your covers at night. I want to grab people's toes from their beds.
I'm pretty sure when we were in college, I told you if I died, I was going to haunt you and start writing messages on the bathroom mirror.
Yep, and I'd know it was you, so I wouldn't be all that.
Yeah, I'd be like, hey, what's up?
I knew a guy whose grandfather told his grandmother, if I ever die and you get remarried, I'm going to come back, A, and haunt you, and B, specifically grab your feet when they're hanging off the end of the bed at
How
night.
very The Conjuring. Oh,
Yeah.
God, that's so
Do you remember how
spooky.
scary that was?
Yes.
The Conjuring?
No, hanging your feet off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's this meme
Yeah.
where it's like
It's like a diagram.
you have 1 foot off the bed and it's not safe, or I gotta find it, but it was pretty funny. It was basically all inside the covers is safe, covers off, not safe, 1 foot out, okay,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, send it to
Yeah.
me and I'll put it in the show notes once
Yeah,
you find
I
it.
gotta
You don't
find
have to find it right now. We can find it later.
There was a Far Side where the kid with the snorkel, and he was like under the blankets and he had a
Oh
snorkel.
my God.
It was like,
That is some clever thinking
Yeah.
right there. But yeah, so at this point in the story, Ralphie is just so dejected and sad because not even Santa's on his side. Literally every grown-up that he has approached about the air rifle has said, "You'll shoot your eye out,
Yeah.
kid." And he just
by the way, it's not an air rifle.
No, it's a BB gun.
It's
sorry.
It's a spring-loaded BB gun.
He calls it an
thought
air
it's-
rifle in
Yeah.
like.
Oh, okay, that's
he
where I got
calls
that.
it
I was
but
like,
it's a
what
straight
did I-
up BB gun.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Which I had when I was a kid. I would shoot, Coca-Cola cans out in the backyard all the time.
the BB gun he has. A buddy of mine shot me in the back with it. I remember I was riding my bicycle. We were playing. We were in the pool. We got out of the pool, and I was like on my bike, and all of a sudden, he just shot me in the back with the BB gun.
So, my dad has a funny story about a BB gun when he was a kid, and we quote this one all the time. When he was a kid, it was either he did it or one of his friends did it, and the BB got stuck in the roof of his mouth.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, he got like shot. And so he went to the doctor, and apparently the doctor had a huge lisp, and he goes, Myth, do you know you have a BB in your head? And we quote that all the time still.
That's amazing.
I'm not interested in your opinion, doctor.
But I mean, the things that they
I'm
got to play
responsible
with.
for the lives of 430 people.
We live in Starliner condo.
Oh, God.
I thought that's where you were going with that.
I was doing a Star Trek thing.
Oh, okay, my bad. Never mind.
Cronenberg.
It doesn't matter, but the stuff that our parents were allowed to play with, like how Jeff Foxworthy is like, yeah, y'all remember lawn darts? How you'd throw them up in the air?
Darts.
See, that's what I'm saying. But like, you don't do that anymore. My dad.
Oh yeah, that's just dangerous now.
Yeah, well, it was dangerous then too.
To be fair,
No, it wasn't.
to be fair, I, when I look back at the lawn darts thing, I do actually sort of think that one. Yeah,
That's pretty bad.
that was pretty bad. Well, I mean, my God, trampolines, people.
Oh,
remember when you were a kid?
yes, double bouncing each
How
other?
many times?
Still do that.
Yeah, how many times were you thrown off of a trampoline by a double bounce?
So many times,
Yeah.
and then like you just
How many
broken
times
arms,
did you
broken
get
legs.
your legs stuck in between?
Oh yeah,
The
Yeah,
slats and the springs.
Slats,
Oh,
yeah.
sweet
I've done
Jesus.
that. I never hurt myself
yeah, well,
that bad.
I have a friend of mine that one of my fondest memories, because he ended up being okay.
Good.
One of my fondest memories is of two of my other friends double bouncing him, and he flew perfectly horizontally off of the trampoline right into a tree.
Oh,
And
God.
it was like a wily cut. Like his arms went around the
He
tree.
splat.
And he was like hugging the tree.
Maybe that's the best case scenario.
And then he slid down. It was so awesome.
And you
That
just
quintessential cartoon moment.
Yeah, and of course we were very concerned and expressed our concern.
And definitely didn't
serious
laugh
song.
at
No,
him.
we did not laugh.
Absolutely not.
No, or call him a
not.
dumbass. Which is
well,
one of
getting hurt was just honestly part of the fun when it happened to other people back
God,
in the
yeah.
day.
I always had a Band-Aid on somewhere.
Yeah,
You know?
Band-Aids.
Yeah.
Decent.
they're everywhere. But yeah, you just I don't know, like some of the stuff that kids were trusted with back in the day, they just aren't anymore. Like my dad got a hatchet wound across the palm of his hand when he was
Yeah.
a little boy, about a week before they were supposed to go to Myrtle Beach for vacation.
Oh.
And the
then
doctor
your
was
parents,
like-
your parents get mad at you because you got hurt before
No, the
vacation.
doctor sold him down the damn river. He was like, "Oh yeah, salt will be good for Morgan's stitches. That'll be fine." And then not only that, so my dad goes with the hatchet wound in his hand. He goes to the ocean. A jellyfish stings him on top
my
of the hatchet wound.
Oh my God.
That's our big wound story in our family because my dad won't even really get in the ocean anymore because every time he gets in, he gets popped by a jellyfish somehow.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Luckily,
it's awful.
I've never been stung by a jellyfish. I
It
have stepped on a
sucks.
sea urchin.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
That can be real bad.
It was.
Yeah.
The spines had to dissolve my foot for 3 days because they couldn't take them out.
Ooh, sweet
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. But
But here's the bunny suit.
the
yeah,
movie.
funnies.
It's interesting because the climax of the movie actually happens before the end of the movie. Which is
Yeah.
one reason, and I love that because I love all the stuff that happens after Ralphie gets the BB gun. You know, like he gets it. You have the scene where he goes out and he shoots and of course almost puts his eye out.
Luckily, he has glasses because otherwise the BB would have gone straight into his eye.
Yeah.
And then he could have gone to the doctor, and the doctor would have said, "Do you know you have a BB in your head?"
But it's almost like what we've talked about with the Mummy and a couple of other episodes, Jason, where it's not just, oh yeah, I got the BB gun. That's the end of the story. Like
Right.
he gets the BB gun. He does get embarrassed a little bit with the bunny suit and stuff. But then you actually see the whole family tie up their story.
Yeah.
So the dad gets disappointed too. Just like Ralphie keeps getting disappointed over and over
She
again.
just drops a bowling ball right on his junk.
Yeah. Here you
She
go,
was being
dear.
thoughtful. She was
Yeah.
listening to him about
Yeah.
how he could have owned a bowling alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Kitty, I could have had a Corvette.
But what my favorite, I think my favorite shot in the whole movie though is at the end when they go to the Chinese restaurant on Christmas Day.
Which once again, you could
Oh,
not
yeah.
get away with that sequence today.
Oh,
with the waiters.
Yes,
the,
rah, rah, rah. Yeah.
No, you could never get away with
No.
that
Oh,
today.
absolutely not.
But what I love is that when they did that scene, they gave Melinda Dillon a different script than they gave everybody else, and in her version of the script,
what end?
the duck came out, and then there was a bit that they were going to do after the duck came out.
Okay, because
Your reactions are pretty genuine.
Yeah, the whole thing with them chopping the duck's head off was not in her script, and
I like that.
I was wondering why she seemed
Bob
kind
Clark-
of alarmed.
That's- yes.
no, Bob Clark did that on purpose just to get an actual genuine reaction
my
out
God.
of her.
And I totally thought, I was like, wow, her reaction is like legit.
yeah, she was kind of freaking out.
But she's laughing though, like
Yeah,
she,
well,
like,
yeah,
she's got a
nervous
smile on
laughter,
her
yeah.
face, and she's like, "Oh my god!"
It's like, I wasn't expecting to watch my dinner be beheaded right in front of me. Yeah. And they're even calling it like an Asian turkey.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like,
yeah.
Well,
God,
and
this is a
if
duck.
you-
We
if-
have those here.
And it's called like the Bo Ling Chinese restaurant, and it's a neon sign, but it says
I did not
it
pick
says
up on that.
bowling, with the W isn't
I didn't
there.
see that.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
bowling. Yeah.
Oh my God.
You know. Now, one thing that also our generation has on all other generations is the quality of our toys, because one of the things that Bill Bryson says in his memoirs of the 50s is that you have no idea how much their toys sucked. Their toys were absolute garbage.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, look,
Look at my hoop, Leslie.
Look at my hoop.
it's like, I got an electric football game. It's basically a board that shakes.
Oh, I had that.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yes. kind of.
Really?
No, actually, my favorite one was I don't know if you ever played Skittles. It was
No.
it was this giant box had little compartments in it and these little pins that were worth a different amount in each room, and you had this little top that you would wind up and you would pull the cord and it would spin out, and you try to knock down as many pins in all the rooms.
That
I was about to say,
Actually,
you got to
that
send me
sounds
that
pretty fun,
too. I
actually.
don't.
It was fun. It's called Skittles.
See, we still have. Speaking of toys, my niece now has it. We have our red flyer wagon, the old school
yeah,
metal
radio
Fire
flyer.
radio flyer.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm
radio
mixing
flyer.
up the BB gun with the wagon. Yeah,
They
we have
make
the radio
all sorts
flyer.
of stuff now. My daughter, for her birthday or Christmas, her grandma got her a radio flyer tricycle that converts into a scooter.
Oh,
Holy
see,
crap!
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's some Transformers shit right there. But
I love the look on the old man's face.
yes, and he totally corroborates because Ralphie thinks that Santa will get him the rifle or the BB gun, and
The old man came through.
he did.
Which I think
but
is better because
is better.
it's restoring Ralphie's faith in his parents.
Yeah.
No, because the dad even says, he's like, oh, I think maybe Santa brought it or something. Like,
Yeah,
'cause
but
the
Ralphie
mom
knows
is,
that it's from him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and then Ralphie knows it's from him.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so. And I just like the fact that, he says, well, I had one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, he should have one.
oh,
You know.
because the mom is all nervous. You can tell that obviously the dad made this decision
Oh my
without
God,
her.
I can't tell you how many times I spilt all those goddamn BBs.
Yes, everywhere.
Oh my.
But like the mom, dad, Ralphie dynamic, love this. All the other characters, just rewatching it,
They're
I don't know
kinda
why, but they
tertiary.
annoyed the crap out of me.
The other characters are really all cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Ralphie and his parents are the real humans, because like his teacher isn't a real person. She's a,
She's just part. She's
She's just a part of the fantasy scenes.
yeah. Well, and she's a
who
fixture.
actually was not plump. She was pregnant, and they
I didn't think she was plump.
they
She wasn't
stuffed
rail
the rest of
skinny
her.
Yeah,
they stuffed the rest of her to
Oh, to get
account
rid of
for
the
bump.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because they couldn't figure out a way of it was because like
Was
the
it
script kept,
scandalous for her to be pregnant?
well it was like they
Well, it
kept
was the
calling her
80s.
Miss. No, because in the 40s it was very. It's obvious that she's not married.
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So,
okay.
they're
for
like-
continuity's sake, yeah.
Yeah, so they
got
said,
it.
well, there wouldn't have been a pregnant, unmarried teacher.
Yeah,
at
that-
the school
that
in
would have been
Ohio
scandalous.
in the 40s. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, but here he goes to shoot his BB gun for the very first time, and what the hell happens?
I mean, why on earth would you shoot at like that giant metal sign where clearly the BB would not go through?
Because and this is what surprised me too, is that like you would at least think that his dad would show him how to fire the gun, maybe once.
Yeah.
Maybe once, like not necessarily be as super safety training as we are oriented like that today, but
I don't
yeah.
think my dad did.
Really?
I think he's
Okay.
It's
I
not a real gun.
appreciate what Ralphie does next, where he concocts this
Oh, yeah.
elaborate
Icicle
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to do that a ton to get out of trouble.
and they were all brilliant, weren't they?
Oh,
They were so brilliant.
absolutely.
But remember when you started getting better at it, where like, because this is actually a pretty decent lie. Like an icicle could have
icicle,
fallen and
yeah.
hit him in the face.
Mom, the car was stolen.
Well, not that, but like and with your mom, it's almost like emotional manipulation because you're like, oh, I'm hurt. This happened. And you're not going to get in trouble when you're hurt because mom's fussing over her baby and wanting to make you feel better. So that's totally what he's doing. Oh, and he steps on the glasses. That crunch.
So
It seriously was. And I can relate to that one too, because I've had horrendous vision ever since I was a little girl. My prescription's really off the deep end. So my parents, they're like, okay, you take care of your glasses. They go in the case. Like, you don't you don't have them on when you're doing soccer practice. I'm like, I have to.
Yeah.
I can't see otherwise.
Yeah.
Like, my prescription's really that bad. But
don't give me that. Don't wear them.
I have to catch
You can
a
see the
small object.
shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
No, it's
But the turkey, here it comes.
oh God, can you imagine how terrible that turkey probably was?
Oh.
You know it was overcooked and just dry.
Why? I think you're projecting
No,
from certain
no.
girlfriends of your
Bad
past.
No, I mean, come on. People back then, to be fair.
My dad could cook a turkey.
Well, yeah, but this is the 40s.
Yeah.
People back then tended to, first of all, they were terrified. Remember, because grandparents were always scared. If you don't cook the turkey enough or the pork enough,
You're going to get
you're
worms.
going to get sick and you're going to
Yeah.
die.
Well, because the mom even says that because Darren McGavin's picking at the turkey.
Right.
and
Oh, she says you're
slaps
gonna
it.
get worms.
Yep, you're going to
Yeah.
get worms.
So they would overcook everything until it
Yep.
was just terrible. And that's why all the meals had just gravy and crap all over
Butter,
it. Yeah,
Make it
like
taste better.
yeah.
lard, to just moisturize it a little bit. But yeah, so I love this that the dad has to sneak in to get a little bite of turkey
Because
Stay
nobody
with
would
that.
notice if someone's already carved out of the turkey.
Well, it's easier to ask for
It's got another hour to cook. You'll get worms. Yep. Well,
he
to be
just
fair, with a
wants
big
his
bird like
turkey.
that, they do take a long time to cook.
So this is the one part that kind of confused me. Did the dogs come through the front door? Because they didn't come. They never come through the back door. So how'd they get in the house? Who left the door open?
I think the screen door or something's open. We'll
I
have
thought
to-
Ralphie left it open when he came back
but he was in the
Yeah.
backyard. The dogs never
don't
come in through the backyard.
But there's a hole in the fence that they keep running through or something. But
I
yeah,
thought they
it's,
always came in through the front door.
it's literally just like this train wreck of
17
it's a
bloodhounds.
parade of 17 dogs, yeah. And they all come in, and that's where I guess Ralphie and his dad are kind of tied together with that disappointment where, that's the one thing dad gets to look forward to on
Yeah.
Christmas. Okay, he got a bowling ball.
Well,
that's
because
pretty
he's
cool.
that-
Okay, he
because-
sees 5 dogs go by. Not worried.
It does
Few more
take
go
him a
by.
minute, yeah.
Still not worried. Crash. Now I'm worried.
No, I think he's in that. No, this isn't happening. It's Christmas Day. I'm enjoying myself.
Turkey.
That's a very furry bloodhound.
Yeah, the whole idea of the one thing that he wants, dad doesn't get.
Yeah.
That's such a wonderful
Okay,
stereotype.
So yeah, there you see they're
They
going
went
out the back door. But how'd they get in the front door?
They had to have come in through the front the way that they shot it. Yeah.
There must have been a second shooter.
Well, in one of Ralphie's fantasies, because apparently
They're on
they
the icy
filmed
hill.
even more than what
Oh,
we
yeah, they
see in the
filmed a
movie,
lot
and
more,
they
yeah.
ended up cutting a lot, so you never
Yeah.
know. Because I think the most iconic one he has is where all the marauders are dressed up like the Hamburglar, and they're coming to attack his family.
Well, yeah, they filmed the whole thing with him and Flash Gordon. They actually filmed it.
Yeah.
I think it's on the Blu-ray, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's on the
I don't
cutscenes
know,
in
yeah.
some instances. Yeah,
But we are, of course, approaching
The end of the movie.
the end of the movie, the end of our time together.
Aw, shucks. Wait, don't I have to see you like 2 more times
Yeah,
this
I
week?
know.
Ugh.
But we are kicking off with this episode a month of Christmas movies.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them,
bowling.
yeah. See,
Chop Suey Palace.
yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
Some of our movies are more Christmassy than others, arguably, but we will get into all of that. I just want to sort of look at this movie, look at A Christmas Story, and say on the Alf to Seinfeld scale, where are we at? And I think I know where you're at on this.
Yeah, we have a pretty general idea already.
I'd have to probably put it at like a 5 for me.
Okay.
Like right in the middle, but maybe closer to the lower. I don't know. I definitely loved it when I was a kid. Watching it as a parent, I don't know. Not as good.
I would have to put it way up at an 8 or a 9 because I didn't
That's
love
fair.
it as much whenever I was a kid. I love it a lot more now. Whenever I was a kid, I watched it in bits and pieces. Now I sit and watch the whole movie every year. I'll probably watch it 3 times at least.
Oh, yeah.
More this year. Because I'll watch it at least once with my kid.
Yeah.
You know, and
See,
then just a couple times, I'll probably get really drunk and watch it and get mad at the screen. And,
Damn kid.
Damn it, Evan. I love you.
At least the werewolf
See, I would
didn't
get
get him.
drunk and watch Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've still watched that one. That one still holds up for me, but
Now, Darth,
you'll get into that later.
Where does it fall on your scale?
I'm going to venture more to your hood with this one, Jason. I'm going to give it a solid 7.5 because this one, this movie, I related to Ralphie and I was just riddled with his anxiety and I felt so bad for him when I was a kid. But then when I turn around as an adult, I'm just like, wow, these weren't really that big.
Right.
These scenarios are not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
and you still empathize with them, but from an adult perspective. So yeah, I'm gonna go like 7.5 on this because I enjoyed it so much more than I even thought I was going to.
Yeah,
So-
I think if you had a good childhood, it is a movie that reminds you had a good childhood, and it makes you smile for a lot of those reasons.
Exactly.
I think in this case, hindsight's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, hindsight
Yeah.
is not horrifying. For
So
a change.
Merry Christmas, you ungrateful bastards.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. But
Now,
yeah, so
what we want for Christmas is for you to find us on social media.
yes,
And
on
to
our
s-
Instagram at Hindsight is Horrifying. You can find us on the obsolete Twitter at Hindsight Horror. Same with Facebook, it's Hindsight Horror. And you can call in if you find the number on our Facebook. We're happy to take suggestions, or you can just give us a little feedback on past episodes, or maybe even potentially guest star over the phone.
Yes.
So if you guys want to tune in, we're going to be changing things up after the holiday season.
Big changes.
Are coming. So we're wrapping up with these holiday movies. And any final thoughts, Miss Meg?
No, man.
Cool. Well, thanks for
Well said. Well said.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for joining us in the studio. You're one of our veteran return guests, and we'll get to visit with each other next week when we have our variant party, where we'll take plenty of pictures for the hindsighters to check out
Yes.
on our social mediums. So, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in for your drive time, your workout time, your work
They don't
time,
work
not
out.
listening time.
Veg out time.
We appreciate you tuning in. This has been Darth Jader with Meg and Jason. This is Hindsight, and good night.
Good night.
Hey.